In the frost-bitten town of Everton, where Christmas lights twinkled like distant stars against the snowy backdrop, a peculiar legend whispered through the streets. St. Augustine's Church, a relic of ancient worship now abandoned, was at the heart of these whispers. Each Christmas Eve, a ghostly choir's melodies echoed from its decrepit walls, hauntingly beautiful and somber. Tom Patterson, a journalist with a penchant for the supernatural, had recently moved to Everton. His curiosity piqued by the town's legend, he decided that uncovering the truth behind the ghostly choir would make a compelling story for his blog. Despite warnings from the locals about the church's eerie phenomena, his skepticism drove him to explore the mystery. As Christmas Eve approached, Tom prepared his investigation kit: camera, audio recorder, notebook, and an ample dose of skepticism. He interviewed residents, gathering a mosaic of eerie testimonials. The most chilling came from Mrs. Weatherby, an octogenarian whose house bordered the old churchyard. "People are drawn to the singing, like moths to a flame," she said, her voice trembling. "But beware, young man. Those who venture into St. Augustine's on Christmas Eve disappear until the next year, returning with spirits as hollow as the church's belfry." Equipped with her foreboding words, Tom approached the church as dusk painted the sky in shades of twilight. The air turned crisper as the haunting melody of Silent Night wafted through the air, guiding him to the dilapidated sanctuary. Pushing open the massive oak doors, Tom stepped into the church, the singing enveloping him in a spectral embrace. Inside, the church was a shadow of its former glory. Pews lay overturned, the altar bare, and the air thick with the dust of ages. Yet, the ethereal voices filled the space, resonating from walls that seemed to breathe with the weight of untold stories. Tom set up his equipment, his voice barely a whisper against the choir's crescendo, and began documenting the phenomena. As he ventured deeper, the source of the singing remained elusive, the voices seeming to shift location, always just out of sight. The melody grew in intensity, reaching a sorrowful peak with "O Holy Night." Overwhelmed by an inexplicable sadness, Tom found himself weeping, his emotions mirroring the lament of the unseen choir. The clock struck midnight and the music abruptly ceased. The sudden silence was oppressive, heavy with the presence of something unseen. Feeling a chill that went deeper than the winter cold, Tom hastily gathered his equipment. As he left, the weight of the church's secrets pressed upon him, urging him to flee the haunted halls of St. Augustine's. Shaken by his experience, Tom returned to his apartment, his thoughts a whirlwind of fear and fascination. He spent the night reviewing his recordings, the static-filled tapes somehow still carrying the faintest echo of the haunting melodies. Compelled to share his experience, he uploaded the audio and his written account to his blog, not realizing that his post would soon captivate a global audience. By morning, Tom's blog post about St. Augustine's had gone viral. Comments poured in from around the world. Skeptics, believers, and thrill-seekers, eager for a taste of the supernatural. The story resonated with many, sparking debates and theories about the origins of the ghostly choir. As the year unfolded, Tom's life was consumed by his eerie encounter. The town of Everton, once just a new chapter in his life, now seemed entwined with his destiny. The church's mystery called to him, an unanswered question that tugged at his soul. Determined to delve deeper, Tom spent the ensuing months researching the history of St. Augustine's. He learned of its founding in the early 1700s, its role in the town's development, and its sudden abandonment in the mid-20th century after a series of unexplained disappearances. The more he uncovered, the more the lines blurred between legend and history, each new piece of information painting a darker picture of the church's past. As Christmas approached again, Tom felt an irresistible pull back to the church. This time, he wouldn't go alone. His blog had attracted a cadre of like-minded individuals, each eager to explore the haunted church. Among them were Anna, a documentary filmmaker; James, a seasoned paranormal investigator; and a group of locals who had grown up with the legend but had never dared to confront it. Together, they formed a plan to spend Christmas Eve at St. Augustine's, equipped with state-of-the-art paranormal investigation tools. Their goal was clear: to document and perhaps understand the source of the ghostly choir. The evening of their investigation, the group gathered outside the church, their breath visible in the frigid air as they set up their equipment. As they entered the sanctuary, the familiar melody of Silent Night greeted them, more melancholic than Tom remembered. Inside, the church was as he had left it, yet the atmosphere felt charged, as if the building itself anticipated their intrusion. They split up, covering more ground, with infrared cameras, EMF meters, and audio recorders scattered throughout the nave and choir loft. As they worked, the air grew colder, the choir's song intensifying. Tom and Anna ascended to the choir loft, setting up cameras to capture any visual anomalies. Below, James and the locals conducted EVP sessions, attempting to communicate with the spirits they believed responsible for the singing. The investigation was in full swing when the unexpected happened. At midnight, the singing ceased abruptly, replaced by a palpable silence that seemed to throb with latent energy. Then, one by one, their devices malfunctioned. Screens flickered, recordings erased, and lights dimmed. Panic set in as the group realized they were not alone. Shadows flitted at the edge of their vision, and whispers filled the air, though no one was speaking. In the chaos, two of their members vanished without a trace, their last known locations marked by the static-filled recordings left on their abandoned equipment. Fearing for their safety and unnerved by the unexplainable phenomena, the group decided to retreat. As they hurriedly packed their gear, the temperature dropped further, their hurried breaths forming icy clouds in the air. Exiting the church, they were met with the eerie calm of the snow-covered landscape. The church stood silent behind them, its secrets once again locked behind ancient stone walls. The group was left to ponder the night's events, each haunted by the melodies that had drawn them there and the shadows that had chased them away. In the aftermath of their harrowing Christmas Eve experience, Tom and his companions were left with more questions than answers. The disappearances of their fellow investigators hung over them, a grim reminder of the church's dark influence. Tom, however, could not let go. His encounter with St. Augustine's had changed him, igniting an obsession with uncovering its secrets. Determined to find the missing members and solve the mystery of the ghostly choir, Tom dedicated the following year to investigating the church's history further. He dove into old archives, interviewed longtime residents, and studied the folklore surrounding the church. Each story, each document, seemed to weave a larger, more complex tapestry of tragedy and mystery tied to St. Augustine's. His research led him to the tales of the original choir, a group renowned for their heavenly voices that met a tragic end in a fire that claimed the church's original structure in the 18th century. Legend had it that their spirits remained forever bound to the site of their demise, singing their eternal lament. As the next Christmas Eve drew near, the pull of the church grew irresistible. Tom knew he had to return, to face the spirits of St. Augustine's once more. This time, he went alone, driven by a need to confront the past and perhaps lay it to rest. Arriving at the church, the air heavy with the scent of snow and decay, Tom felt as though he was stepping through a portal into another time. The singing began as soon as he crossed the threshold, the ethereal voices enveloping him in a sorrowful welcome. Armed with only a camera and a digital recorder, Tom walked the aisles of the church, each step echoing in the hallowed halls. He spoke to the spirits, asking for answers, pleading for the return of those taken the previous year. The choir's song swelled in response, their voices a tapestry of sadness and longing. As midnight approached, Tom felt a shift in the air, a loosening of the sorrow that had so tightly gripped the church. A warmth spread through the cold, and for a moment, the music softened. A gentle farewell whispered through the melodies. Then, just as quickly, the sensation passed. The church fell silent, the spirits retreating into the shadows once more. Tom, left alone in the quiet, felt a profound sadness, a mourning for the lost and for the beauty of the song that he would never fully understand. He left St. Augustine's with a heavy heart, his recordings rich with the voices of the past, but empty of the answers he had sought. The mystery of the ghostly choir remained unsolved, a haunting melody that would call to him for years to come. Forever, a reminder of the Christmas Eve he spent within the walls of the haunted church. The years passed, but the legend of St. Augustine's Church only grew, fueled by Tom's blog and the continued fascination with the ghostly choir. Each Christmas, the story attracted new visitors to Everton, each drawn by the lure of the supernatural and the mystery of the singing spirits. Tom, now a fixture in the town, had become its unofficial historian, the keeper of its ghostly tales. His life was irrevocably intertwined with St. Augustine's, each Christmas marking another chapter in his ongoing relationship with the church. Despite the lack of definitive answers, Tom's investigations had shed light on the numerous lives touched by the church's legacy. Families of those who had disappeared found some solace in his work, a recognition of their loss and a communal mourning that brought the town closer. Each year, Tom continued to visit St. Augustine's on Christmas Eve, no longer as an investigator, but as a pilgrim, paying respects to the spirits he had come to know through their haunting laments. The church, for its part, seemed to recognize his presence. The choir's voices, always particularly poignant during his visits. On what would be his final visit, an elderly Tom crossed the threshold of St. Augustine's with a sense of finality. The town had changed, new generations unaware of the church's darker past, but the melody remained, a timeless echo of sorrow and beauty. As he sat in the pews listening to the choir, Tom reflected on his life's journey. The church had given him a purpose, a mystery to chase, and ultimately, a connection to something greater than himself, a story that transcended time, bound by the notes of a ghostly song. That night, as the clock struck midnight and the singing reached its crescendo, Tom felt a peace he had never known. The voices enveloped him, not in sadness, but in acceptance. As the final notes of Silent Night faded into the silence, Tom Patterson's legacy was sealed, intertwined forever with the spirits of St. Augustine's. St. Augustine's Church stood silent in the snow, its secrets kept, its choir silent until the next Christmas Eve, when the songs of the past would once again drift through the frosty air, calling to those who listened, a reminder of the thin veil between the past and the present, between sorrow and beauty, between life and something eternal.